Summertime, summertime, summertime. And back in Walkerton, Indiana, and we're here at the beautiful Murray Botanical Gardens. It is a great time, isn't it, Mark, to be out here in beautiful Walkerton?
It is, and what I like most here at the Murray Botanical Garden is that you can come back and each week you're going to see something different, something that you didn't see before, because there's a constant change, there's evolving going on. We've got it planned so there is spring blooming, summer flowering, fall color, and winter interest, and things are coming into their glory at different times of the year.
Yeah, I noticed that when we arrived, the color that we didn't necessarily see earlier in the year, we're seeing now here. Steve and Judy are the homeowners. And what you've done here lately is kind of made this circular drive something pretty spectacular.
Well, thank you. I'd like to share it with all the Michiana viewers out there. This is the entrance that we created to this section of the gardens. And Steve and Judy like having some architectural components to the gardens. And this is something that Steve fell in love with, saw it at our facility, and shared that vision with us. And you know what I like most, Craig, is that if you look in here, these are all artistic designs that Steve hand carved these. And now these are cast, and he hand carved the original one and then cast it, and feel that is incredibly heavy.
Whoa.
And they're designed to stay outdoors here and withstand the elements year round. But there's all sorts of beautiful, interesting things, and you know, we just came from inside their house, and it's like a museum, because all of these very intricate embellishments continue inside as well as outside here.
So do we maybe enter into Dalmatian Place if we take a sharp right here?
We do, and the whole reason for that sign there is Steve's wife Judy is championship breeder of Dalmatians, and I think towards the end of the show we're going to get a special treat.
I think you're right. I can't wait for that. That's going to be cool.
Well, wanted to share with you as well as the viewers some interesting plants that we've got here. These are some of our unusual sedums. These are fall blooming sedums called Mr. Goodbud sedum. These will have a hot pink colored flower. They're going to be coming into their glory this fall.
Feels like rubber.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about sedums is those rubbery leaves, they're designed that way so they can withstand drought-like type of conditions.
Gotcha.
And we've got one of our little dwarf Weigelias here. Love the different color tones that you see in the leaves. Yeah. And this goes through 3 bloom cycles. It blooms in the springtime, again in the summertime, and again in the fall. Stays dwarf and compact. Of course, we wanted the focus to be here on these entrance gates. Now, as you walk in here, we've got some really large slabs of blue stone. I love how that color complements the stone ground cover.
Yeah,
it all ties in there.
It sure does a nice job of doing that. Well, this is so expansive once you get inside here. I mean, where do you begin, Mark?
Well, you know what? You've got all these different grass paths, and you just kind of, whatever pulls and draws your interest to, you walk towards that. And we've got some island beds in here, and because they're islands, there's really not a backside that they're intended to be viewed 360 degrees. And another thing that we do when designing a botanical garden like this is we strategically place larger trees and specimen shrubs to create a visual block. If you didn't have that visual block, Craig, you would just step in here, you could stand here, you could see the whole entire garden at the same time, and you'd say, I saw it. But because you can't see it all at the same time, it kind of pulls you into there.
Yes, I can see that.
Every twist and turn, you get to see a different view.
Interesting. Any big challenge here, Mark, with the property?
You know, there's always challenges with different projects in that, and the challenge here was just simply getting everything to come together and that.
Gotcha.
And I love the finished product. I think we
flows.
pulled it off.
It flows. Yep.
Wanted to share with you and the viewers here, this is a Howell's Tiger Tail Spruce. It's got different coloration in the needles here. You see blue needles, green needles, and gold needles. It's a nice little low-growing specimen evergreen, surrounded by some of our hybrid coral bells. Turn the corner over here, Craig. We've got one of our specimen Siberian weeping pea trees here, and this was in its glory in the springtime with little yellow sweet pea-like type of flowers, but beautiful cascading weeping branch structure.
Siberian pea tree.
Absolutely, you got it right.
Wow. What else?
Well, over here we've got one of our rare Coreopsis, and Coreopsis typically are bright yellow flowers. This Coreopsis has both red and yellow petals. The nice thing about Coreopsis is it blooms all spring, all summer, and fall, and love how we have a contrast of textures.
Yeah.
I've got the large, firm boulder there, and then the soft airiness of the Coreopsis.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, it's been fun walking through this property over the last, what, Mark? A couple years, right? That we've
Actually,
been out
it's
here?
been more than that. I think we're going on 4 years here.
Wow.
So we've had multiple projects over the years.
Uh-huh. What else?
Well, over here we've got one of our dwarf tree hydrangeas that it's in its glory right now. I love hydrangeas because they continue to bloom throughout the summertime and into the fall. We've got a lot of rare and unusual little dwarf evergreens. This is one of our dwarf pine patio trees.
Neat.
And then we have some dwarf golden pines, and you probably wonder, why is it a golden pine when it looks as green as can be? Well, actually, the winter color, it turns bright gold.
Uh-huh. Cool. Cool. Well, we're getting closer to the road, aren't we?
Yeah, and because of the road here, we wanted to go with some taller plantings than that, so we have some things with some height. We've got different types of cypresses here. This is one of our new introductions called Soft Serve, appropriately named because of the softness to the evergreen branches. Gaillardia is an awesome perennial flower, blooms all 3 seasons, also known as blanket flower. And directly behind it, Craig, this is one of our snow fountain weeping cherries. Puts on a beautiful display of color in the springtime.
Uh-huh. Good place for it, too. I like that.
Another Coreopsis, we grow them in all different colors, and this has the purple colors here. Ties in with our dwarf repeat blooming lilac. Everyone knows that lilacs bloom in the springtime, but this one continues to rebloom throughout the season.
That's an unusual sight, isn't it?
It is.
See it this late in the season. What else here, Mark?
Well, we've got other different varieties of Weigelias. We've got our golden Weigelia here, which blooms with a dark red colored flower. Our little dwarf spilled wine Weigelia, which when it's in bloom, it has a nice contrast of light pink up against those burgundy leaves there.
And one more item here before we catch up with Steve and Judy.
Yeah, this is one of our Seryu Japanese maples, a beautiful cut leaf on this, and this turns bright gold in the fall. You see the serration that's in those leaves there?
Yes.
Almost like fern type of leaves.
Cool. Steve and Judy, that relationship goes back quite a ways, doesn't it?
It does, and continues, and it's a business relationship that's turned into a friendship.
Yeah, you and Steve really have hit it off, even traveled together earlier this year. We're going to catch up now with the homeowners and tell you a little bit more about what's happening out here at the Murray Botanical Gardens. Well, here to talk to Steve a little bit about the circular driveway out front that we featured and all the plant selections around it. A beautiful job by Linton's and the crew, Steve.
Yes, they did a wonderful job, and working with Mark is a privilege that we get to collaborate on what we're going to put in there and how they get placed. It's wonderful.
It's been a fun journey for you two, and Mark did mention just a moment ago that you guys have even traveled together. This guy looks a little different, though, doesn't he, from the last time we saw him, Mark?
I think it's Steve's summer look.
His summer look.
Yeah.
You got a bit of a haircut.
Yes, had the ponytail cut off and donated to wigs for kids, for the cancer kids. We'll let it grow for another couple of years and then do it again. But also getting ready for the Christmas season. I got my elf look on, my Santa, the jolly old elf here.
Outstanding. We looked at some of those trees out there, Mark, and I was asking Mark specifically, how old are some of these original trees that were on the farm back in the day when you first came to this property? Any idea how old some of those trees might be out there?
No idea. We have,
100 plus.
we have a deed that goes back to the property to when the Spanish had this property.
Really?
And it was signed over by the native people. And so their signature is in hieroglyphics, the sign of the turtle and some other things.
Wow.
So this is one of the very early properties that was used for farming.
Interesting. Mark, did you understand and realize when you first met that there was so much history going on here with this property?
I had no idea. Of course, out there near the street, there's a historical barn, and had many conversations with Steve as to different opportunities, what could be done with that barn and that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we're out here in beautiful farmlands, just a gorgeous setting.
And to think that we were right outside Dalmatian Place. What a great name.
It is. Judy's love for Dalmatians and judging dogs, it shows in our place. And at this time, we even have puppies in the basement.
Wow.
And I had the pleasure of holding a newborn little puppy. They're just absolutely precious.
Steve, always good being with you. And thanks to you and Judy for inviting us out here. And it was good to see the doggies.
Very glad to have you. Come back anytime.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Mark, thank you as
Thank
well.
you, Craig.
Hey, much more coming up on our program, so don't go away. Stay with us. We'll be right back.